Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. So this video is not so much a tutorial per se, it's a video demonstration based on a question I got from Sue. So let me get my paper. So Sue asks, why does, this is based on a lesson we did with yellow oxide. Why does quinacridone violet brighten yellow oxide? I would have thought of any type of violet would dull it because yellow and violet are complementary colors. That's a really good question. Based on the demonstration that I did in that video, that was one of the pop questions that I asked. So I wanted to basically do a demonstration here as to why quinacridone violet does brighten up yellow oxide. So we have to look first at our color wheel. Where do the colors sit on the color wheel? So I've got some colors out, more than just a quinacridone violet to fully explain it. I have the Decor Traditions Red Violet, the quinacridone violet, permanent alizarin crimson, yellow oxide, and opaque titanium white to show the true underlying colors. So for those of you that don't have the paints, whatever you have, if you have the color index information on the back, that'll help you. So red violet is PV19. It's a violet. Quinacridone violet is PR122. It's a red. Even though it's called quinacridone violet, the actual pigment is a red pigment. Permanent alizarin crimson is PR177. Yellow oxide is PY42, and opaque titanium white is PW6. All right, so that's the first thing you have to know where the colors sit on the color wheel. So even though quinacridone violet says violet, it looks like a violet, it's a pigment red. So you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking, okay, where does it sit on the color wheel? All right, so that's the first thing. You got to know where the colors sit. So I'm going to move my chart over here. And let me put out the colors first. So I'm going to use red violet here. Oops, I got some of my fingers. So red violet here. And I would love for you guys to do this exercise if you have the paints as well. So if you don't have the Traditions paints, what you want to look for is you want to look for your a violet that leads towards blue, really blue, another violet a red that leads towards violet. So think of this is more to the blue side here. So a violet that leans towards blue, a red that leans a lot more towards violet, a red that leans towards violet a little bit, then your yellow oxide, which is your neutral, yellow, orange, and then your white. So let's put that in here. So we definitely see that this red violet, PV19, leans towards blue. Okay, so we see that, right? Colors can only lean two ways, to the left or to the right of the color wheel. That's the only way it can lean. Even if it's a neutral, and even if it's a neutral sits in here, it still leans only one of two ways. And then we have the quinacridone violet. And I've recently, if you've been watching the videos, that I've switched this up for the red violet. I'm going to keep the quinacridone violet in my extended palette. I'm finding that the red violet is a lot more flexible. And then we'll pick up some white. So from this, could you call this a true violet? Not really. It's a red, but the red leans towards violet. So let me write this down. So we have, there goes my question on the floor. So PV19. This is red violet. This is quinacridone violet, which is PR120, 2. And then permanent alizarin crimson. Jesus, I'm running out. It's PR177. Or did I get that backwards? Nope, I'm good. Then we're going to have yellow oxide, PY42. If you have yellow ochre, it's PY43. And then titanium white, which is PW6. All right, so we have that. So it even looks almost pinkish, doesn't it? But it definitely leans towards violet. It doesn't lean towards blue. When I say something that leans towards blue, it's really blue. So this is a violet that really leans towards blue. This is a red that leans towards violet. So now permanent alizarin crimson, this is in my limited palette. It's not a true alizarin crimson because the true alizarin crimson fades very, very quickly. So this is a beautiful match that Decor came up with for that. And we'll pick up some red, some white I should say. Pick up a bit more. It's a very strong pigment. It'll go really far. So we look at this and we can see that it is a red that also leans towards violet, but not as much as quinacridone violet. Okay. And I'm really going through a lot of detail so you can understand the process of the analysis of the color. Instead of just saying, well, this is why quinacridone violet brightens yellow oxide cell delta. I want to explain it. And then let's put in our yellow oxide. This is another reason why I'm like just huge on doing your charts, understanding where the colors sit on the color wheel, having the color index information. That, you know what, is gold. And like with the decor ones, they've got the pigment number, the transparency, the light fast, the value, and the chroma. I mean, that gives you everything. The older bottles also has the hue where it sits on the Munsell scale, and that's more for advanced. I don't know why I even put white here, but let's put just point out why I put that there. I wasn't paying attention. Can we lighten the value of white? Yeah, it's this. It's invisible. Okay. So now we're going to take our yellow oxide and we're going to, I don't know, we'll put it here. It doesn't matter. And we'll pick up a little bit of quinacridone violet. I don't know why I didn't mix that on the... I really messed that up, didn't I? Should have mixed it on the palette, then on the paper. I may do another one because that's really heavy on the yellow oxide. Let's get that in there. There we go. So I have one that's heavier on the yellow oxide, one's heavier on the quinacridone violet. Let's do that one. So now we'll take the yellow oxide and red violet. Now this is going to be hard to try to match it exactly. I think I've got it pretty well. Look how much duller that is. Look how much duller that is. Now if I go to so this one here is more on the yellow oxide side. So now let's add more of the mixing color. It's still really dull. Okay. So now let's do quinacridone, permatelizing crimson. So I'm going to do more on the yellow oxide side. Do I have enough there? Yeah, that's not too bad. You have to make sure it's different from that. Again, this one is also brighter. Let's add more permatelizing crimson. That's way too much. That's bright, even more bright. Even more bright, even brighter. Well, they let that dry. So let's, which is my mixes? Oh, darn. Which is this? No, I don't know which is which. Oh, you know what? Doesn't matter. Where it sits on the color wheel is why the quinacridone violet is brighter. Is brighter. It doesn't really dull. So if you think of it, that yellow oxide sits right about here. And so it's a yellow-orange right over here. And across the color wheel, you've got the blue-violet. That's why the red-violet really dulls it down. But as you go up the color wheel, because you're getting into the reds, it's on the... on the warm side of the color wheel, okay? It's on the warm side of the color wheel. Yellow oxide is a yellowish orange. There's red in orange. There's red in quinacridone violet. There's red in permatillism crimson. That's why it's brighter. Where the actual violets, they're on the blue side, which is a complementary color. So although it's not an intense bright, it is getting brighter. It doesn't dull it down as much. It is brighter. So to push that even more, so let's say if we took yellow oxide, let me just go now back to quinacridone violet. That's the original question. Let's get a mix. There, we're on quinacridone violet. Oh, that's a nice one. Let me just pop that back in there. And also make sure that when you're doing your color chart, you're working on white paper. Nothing creamy or whatever, because it'll change the value. Let's get some white in there. Nice. That's nice. Now we're going to go with doing the same thing now with the red violet. Now I'm going to try to make a mix similar to this again. A bit more. Oh, that may be too much. There we go. So we'll put that here. We'll add our white. When you add the white, you really see the color. Look at that. I'm off camera. Sorry. So here we go. Oh, you know what? I can't leave this by itself. Let's do another one. So you can see that where the actual true complementary colors makes it really, really dull. As we go this way on the color wheel, meaning this way, they're going to get brighter. Similar color? Yep. So let's pop that one over here. And let's add some white. This is much more on the yellow oxide side. Let's not fudge that, but let's just tint that up a little bit more. Oops, too much. Oh, but look at that. Oh, look how beautiful that is. Here. So quinacridone violet brightens up yellow oxide a little bit more because it's more on the red side. Where if you take something like red violet or even the blue, it dulls it down more because that's on the blue side, and the blue is where you're more opposite on the color wheel. Yellow oxide is more yellow than anything else. Well, yellow orange, so it's right in here. So you kind of look at, if you take the two, so orange goes to the neutral blue and yellow orange goes to the blue violet. So anything on this side is going to neutralize, it's going to dull it down, and anything into the red is going to brighten it up a little bit. It's not a super bright, but it does brighten it up if you look at it like this. Let me just bring that color down here. It is a little bit darker on the mixes, but it's not dull like with red violet. There we go. So how does this help you? If by chance, and I do it a lot, if by chance, I have to move this over, I think I'm too far off camera here. If by chance you're doing your mixes and let's say, well, let's say you don't have, if you want to brighten something up and, okay, let me think. Let's just pretend, I don't know, you don't have any yellow, you don't have any orange. Well, let's just say, well, I don't know how to explain this situation. You could use it. You could use quinacridone violet to boost up, let's say if you had too much blue in something, you could use quinacridone violet to slightly boost up the color, okay, without going to something extreme. I don't know if that makes any sense. So if you've got a mix with yellow oxide with blue, which makes kind of a greeny color. So let's say you want to boost that up a little bit, just a little bit brighter. Don't go to violet, go over to quinacridone violet or even to permanent alizarin crimson to brighten it up a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. You don't want to take that mix and go to the other side because it'll be really, really green. So let's say you want to just make it more, anything like the violets, blues, and greens, they're cool. And then the reds, think of fire, hot. So if you just want to warm it up a little bit, so let's say your green, let's say it was in sunshine, you did yellow oxide and blue to get a kind of like muddy green, and you want to boost it up a little bit. If you just go with a little bit of red, it'll be warm without being that neon-y color when you add yellow. I don't know if that helps at all, if I just made the situation worse, but let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, or if this helped at all. So there you go. So knowing exactly where the colors sit on the color wheel. And the other important thing is, if I look, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 lights in here. And I don't think I think the lights are, yeah, I have to readjust the lights because they're not even. I've got 1 warm light. Let's see, 1 warm light this way. I've got a daylight bulb here. I've got a cool bulb here, and I've got a cool bulb over here. So I'm getting a balance of lights. If you're working only in daylight, which is 6500 Kelvin, your overall lighting will be on the blue side, which means when you're mixing your colors, you're going to see everything with a blue tint to it. Take your piece and go into another room, let's say with warm light, and it's going to look completely different. Same thing if you're only working with incandescent bulbs that are orange, like an orange glow, your mixes are going to reflect an orange glow. So you may be mixing based on the lighting that you're in. So take your piece and go into a room that has different lighting. Kitchens are usually, I think, a cooler light. Even better yet, take it outside. That's perfect. Take it outside. Not in the sunshine, but in the semi-shade. Take it there and then see what your colors look like. That way you get a better idea as to what the true colors are. Alrighty, so hope that helps you. I'm going to clean up now and I'm going to get ready for my next demonstration. So if you have any questions, post in the comments below. Better yet, if you have a color chart, I would love to see your color chart with your own experiments, with the colors that you have, and any observations that you've made. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you need to click the link in the description below to go over to the private Facebook group, and because everything is happening in there with all our discussions. You can post your pictures there. All right, so hope this helps. Until I see you in the next lesson, stay inspired.